Welcome to Radio Panache, the epitome of excellence.
Hello, and welcome once again. I did say that today we celebrate a giant, South Africa's music giant in music and culture. And on the 19th of May this year at Mahlambondlovu, where the president resides, President Cyril Ramaphosa conferred our nation's highest honors. Amongst those, Sibonginkosi Mdlongwa. He was awarded the Order of Ikhamanga for a lifetime of creativity, mentorship, and genre-shaping artistry. And from pioneering kwaito to driving house, to afro house, to opening doors, to so many through amapiano. And he's shaped generations, and that story will live to be told by generations to come. And we're so grateful that as Radio Panache, we get to celebrate with him in this grand recognition. Good afternoon. Is it afternoon already, or is it still morning? Good morning and welcome.
Hello, my sister. How are you?
Thank you so much. It's such an honor for me to be sitting with an order recipient, let alone the fact that he's my brother and friend. Thank you for agreeing for us to celebrate you. I know you seldom do interviews these days. You're one of those individuals who's like, whatever you want to know, it's Googleable.
Yes.
But agreeing for us to just tap into your wisdom and get to know Sibonginkosi.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people bazo Oskido waro na Oskido wabantwana. We want to know Sibonginkosi. Where did it all begin? How did you even know that you were this talented? Because the genres that I mentioned earlier on, many of them were firsts for you. And then you introduce it to the world and like wildfire experience. How did it all start?
Good morning to the listeners, man. And I think to be honest, it's it started. I've always loved music. Because growing up, one was always listening to radio stations, and you find that those days, there were cassettes.
I was talking about the cassette and record.
We'll tap the music, or maybe even you have a favorite DJ, then we tap the music from there, and then from there I'll use those songs, to go and play, for my friends or at parties and all that stuff. And fast forward, when I was growing up, as you know, that all the parents, they always want you to finish your formal education.
Be a lawyer.
Yes, be a lawyer and all that. So therefore, my next door neighbor was a motor mechanic. And so for me, I always say that, I want to be, I want to be a motor mechanic, because I could see that, he had a cash flow. My taxi always changing tires, brake pads and all that. And that man was always liquid, so the cash flow.
So that inspired you.
Now I understood that, cash flow is king, because my dad was doing 9 to 5, and it was hard. And the times you told me is no food. But my neighbor always, had money. Something. So therefore, but in doing that, then I told my parents that, I want to be a motor mechanic, So therefore, BMW, Midrand gave me a scholarship to say, okay, we'll give you this, for 5 years, and everyone was happy at home. So therefore, I started working there. But when I got into the job, because I used to also like, playing music, I hated the job so much.
Thank God for that.
The grace which had me, like I said, no, this is not for me.
I may have loved the mechanic, but I don't like anything.
Yes. So therefore, every time when they give me a car, a client leaves the car. Because remember, when you're starting this job, you do the basic, they want you to do the basic. If people are servicing, you have to take out one of the wheels, drain the oil. And so that's the job I was doing. And I hated it. But every time they give me a car, I'll be on the radio.
Music.
And they'll come in, Bemkuzela, out, hey, this is not your car, it's like, okay. And, I kept on doing it, but without even noticing.
Yes.
And until my manager came back, he came to me, says, you know what, I don't think this job is for you. Do you really want to do this? Because when you go now into college, I don't think you're going to make it. Wow. Your mind space is not into this.
In fact, you describe it as music is home.
Yes.
For me.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
So then from there, I decided, then he said, make up your mind. And, at the end of the month, I made up my mind. He said, you know what, we're going to pay you. And then he gave me my money. And then those days, they were paying us my checks.
Yeah.
So they gave me a check. And now I didn't even want to. And now it's 700 rand. And I don't even know what if I tell my family what I've quit this job, because everyone now was saying that he's going to be like the neighbor. Now we're also going to have the cash flow. Hey, Mona, I didn't want to tell them. I remember driving via, Alexandra, from Midrand, caught a taxi. I got into Elof Street and I didn't know what to do, but I had this check. And all of a sudden, when I saw this lady, selling amavors and all that, I said, you know what?
Maybe.
Let me think, what I can do. I went to her, I said, you know what, please can you help me? Where do you buy this trolley? And he says, okay. Then they gave me the number and I called this person. He says, no, we can deliver. If you've got cash, we can deliver. It's 500 rand. We can deliver it now. Then I went, there was okay bazaars. If you know Joburg very well,
yes.
Then I went in, cash my check. And then he came within an hour. I had my stand.
Yeah.
And now, but I'm left with 200 rand and then whatever. I didn't know that I still need to pay gas. I have to buy the utensils. I have to go in, whatever.
How do you make the voice?
Yeah. And now all of a sudden, boom, when I buy that, I'm left with about 30 rands or so. And then I went to go and buy about, a packet. And then 3 rolls, whatever. And to fast forward, I started selling, but that night I decided that I knew that Radio Metro, they used to have, it was a Thursday. They used to have Thursday night, ladies' night, called Razzmatazz. So I pushed the thing, the trolley, I went to Razzmatazz. There was Ian Sukola, who used to play there, the late Ian Sukola. And then Evidence Camp and all that stuff. And then I went there to pack my trolley and I started, selling there, Provos. And then from there, then it started happening that, when they leave the club, then from there, because I didn't have a place to sleep, then I would start playing for the staff, they allowed me to play, for the staff, because, I was winding down. And after, because I didn't have a place, because my only home was Joburg Park. We'll push the trolley, my schemanes, those homeless guys, and then, But it happened like that, and within 3 weeks or so, I had that 700 in my hand. And I was owning a business. And by the grace of God, the resident DJ, one day he didn't pitch up. And then the club owner say, hey, we know a guy who's selling down. He says, you always play for my stuff. Can you come in? And boom, you know what? I went that night, I rocked. And that's changed my life. The owner says that I'm employing you full time. Wow. And you know what I did? I told those guys who were helping me, you know what, take this thing. Because it was too much stress for me, And then, because now I was getting a salary, 1,500 per month, I was like happy. And that's where my journey. Yes. Now I was now on the mainstream. And this is when, everything changed. I started playing the music, meeting all, everyone who I met, Abolebu Matosa and all that stuff. And my career started that way. And
Sure. So fast forward 26 years later. 26 and more, I suppose. What still gets Oskido out of bed? One of the things that anybody who knows Oskido, they would tell you that everything you touch, you want to excel in it. It's an opportunity to showcase and show off. But what then gets you all out of bed every time? I
think for me, it's the love of life. And I think God has given us this life. And, the more you get older, the more you realize that we don't have time. When you see all the people who've left or what God has blessed you with. So then I always look back. I mean, from now, I was sleeping in Tibet Park. You know, I told God I want to be in music, and God gave me that.
So you had that conversation with God?
Yes. So He gave me that. He answered my prayers. But when He answers your prayers, is that He's giving you this thing.
Yes.
But what do you do with it? You can't keep it yourself.
And God can't give you something you can't.
Yes, there are other people who are going to come in and say, you know, help me.
Wow.
And then, you know, from there I started knowing that I need to share with them what God has given me.
And this is why whenever you discover something, it's never about me.
No.
I mean, many of us watched you receive this order. And you get home, you're like, I'm calling Brasipo, I'm calling Bradon, like, guys, you were there,
yes.
Ozani, this is not just about me, this is ours.
Yes, because I just felt that I'm the recipient, but I didn't walk this journey alone. You know what I'm saying? I didn't walk this journey alone. And you know what? But just to fast forward, when I just want to go back to that Razzmatazz story. So then, when that happened, then from there, you know, we started doing music. You know, started producing music, and the record labels approached me. I used to do cover versions, and you know, we're doing the house music, giving it to them. They were paying me 20 cents royalties.
Wow.
You know, for the cover versions of the music which we're playing.
Royalty.
Yes, it was very popular. But you know, my tape became so big that it disrupted the music industry. That time, Babu Gum music was that era. You know, about Sisprenda with big, about Prachiko and all that. So one day, because I was now staying in Hillbrow in High Point, so when I was in a lift carrying my vinyls, I see this guy, this man, he's also carrying a keyboard. He looks at me, says, "Are you Oscar the Big O from Razzmatazz?" I say, "Yeah." He says, "Yo, your tape at Mix Masters has disrupted the market."
Wow.
You know,
did you even understand what that means?
I'm saying that. He says, "Yeah." Then no, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
He says, "Hey, tell me your story. So who are you working with?" I said, then I explained my story. Then I said, you know, are they paying me this much? He says, "No, they are abusing you. Let's go upstairs." Then boom, when I go upstairs, I find a studio, a recording studio. Yeah.
For the first time in your life.
For the first time in my life, I see a recording
studio.
No more
winding a tape and then the
And they say that, you know what, these people are ripping off. Maybe me and you, we can start this thing together. Wow. And that was Bradon Laka. Bradon Laka changed my life. He showed me what it is. And we did that, but then I said, no, wait, Bradon Laka, you know what? Before I start this business, I buy these records from someone. Yeah. And this guy is DJ Christos. Yes. And this is when I said, you know, I want him to be part of the business. Yeah. And then we met Christos, and this is how Kalawa was born. K-A for Kaikatsis, Christos Senem, L-A for Laka, W-A Mdlongwa. That's Kalawa was born. Wow. Yeah, and then from that time, I was doing the Saturday dance sessions at the club now. Then I met Abole. Abole used to go with me to dance and all that stuff. And later, Praton said, but we need to have faces. And I didn't know that Abole could sing. Then Junior Tomotlebu can sing, which is not a dancer. And that's when we started Boom Shaka. We did It's About Time to Listen to Boom Shaka. Oh my goodness. And that song was so big underground. But when we took it to the majors said, no, it's not going to work. Because that time, era Yabo Brachiko and Abu Sisprenda was big. Then we said, fine, you know, that door closed.
So to all those underdogs, never allow the door to be shut on you.
Yes.
Keep moving.
Yes. Then we took that tape and then we started selling it from the streets. We went to find a printing place, and then we started, and that tape exploded. The same EMI, which
then they woke up.
Then they called us to say, "Hey, you've disrupted the meeting," because Reliable and Records, they ordered about 20,000 tapes, and we didn't have money to manufacture. And then they say we'll manufacture. EMI then called us, but when we went to EMI, we said, "Now we know the music industry." They said, no, we can do marketing. We say, no, when you're calling us, check out the marketing, we can market, whatever.
We'll do it ourselves.
The only thing we wanted was distribution.
Yes.
Do you understand? Because distribution was costing us a lot. If we send someone to Durban with 2,000 tapes, when they come back, the profit is only on 200 or 300 tapes. Do you understand?
Many artists, your colleagues, unfortunately don't get to connect to the business of being an artist.
Yes.
And you've done that phenomenally well.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, and to unpack that story, to answer your question. So then, after we had the meeting with the majors, we told them that, we know what the music business is, all we need distribution. That was the first time in the country where EMI gave us a bigger percentage as artists. They gave us 80%.
Because you went in there knowing your worth.
Yes. They gave us 80% as Kalawa, and then from there, 20% distribution they took.
Wow.
So now we had this 80%.
Yeah.
So with this 80%, this is when one started to meet guys like Bob Block Coffee, we're knocking, looking for a record deal where we could say, we can license your stuff, but you can open your business within Kalawa.
But that's what I love about what Kalawa does.
Yeah.
Is that we see the talent, but we're not going to rip you off.
Yes.
You own your stuff.
Yes.
But we'll take a portion for what we're going to do for you.
Yes. Tira came in. Also, we did the same thing with him. Afrotainment was born. And then, having a stake, which the majors give, and we're giving more percentage better than the majors. Because